Now, the game of bridge is a complex game. It's a game that is renowned in in novels and literature and all of it. It's a kind of an upper class game. It's a posh person's game, and it's a very intelligence-based game. Some of that is true. It is a game based on intelligence, and it is a difficult game. If you've come here for an easy ride, I'm afraid you're not going to have one. It is a difficult game, but it is an incredibly satisfying game. It's a game that's very good for you mentally. A game of bridge is played by 4 players. So whoever you're sat opposite, if you are sat at a table, I appreciate I've shifted some of you over, but if you are sat at a table, whoever you are sat opposite, whether that is chance or not, they are known as your partner. So a game of bridge is actually played only by 4 players, and we dictate them as compass points. The reason for that is that it's easy to refer to someone as a compass point rather than referring to them as their name or the person on the left or the person on their right. It's used as a way of describing who you mean without actually specifically naming someone, just in case they do it in books and stuff like that. Now, what I use these things for, these are obviously suits of the deck. I hope you have all come across a playing card deck. I would be astounded if none of you have, given that you're here. So these are suits of the deck, spades, hearts, diamonds and clubs. So, given that there are 4 players, I put them in a diamond-ish shape. This is to kind of signify what the table looks like. I appreciate a table is perfectly square, or close to. So what I do is I label these north, east, south, and you'll never guess it, west. So what I will be using these from lesson 1 today, right the way through to 3 years down the line if you want to come all the way through to my advanced classes. I will be using these. These, I don't really have a name for them. I suppose they're like templates or something. What I do is use these to stop me having to write out the ace of spades, the queen of diamonds. I just put a Q next to the card I mean. For example, I would mean the queen of hearts there. Okay? So you'll be getting very used to these. They'll look alien for now, but trust me, they become very straightforward once you get used to them. Now, the game of bridge, as I say, is a 4-player game. It is a trick-taking game, so that means that whoever plays the highest card to a trick wins that trick. Games like this are whist, any version of whist, knockout whist, diminishing whist. So just kind of out of interest, as a show of hands, who has actually played a trick-taking game before? Has anyone played whist or knockout whist or anything like that? That's really encouraging. Good. Right, okay. So for those of you who haven't played a trick-taking game, the way a trick-taking game works is that each player plays a card, let's say the 6 of spades, the 10 of spades, the jack of spades, and the ace of spades. Now, the first question is, why are they all playing spades? Why didn't someone play the ace of hearts, for example? Well, a trick-taking game, there are certain rules, and that is that when someone plays a suit, let's say a spade, everyone else has to play that same suit if they have that card in their hand. So if they have any spades in their hand, and a spade is the first card played, you have to play a spade. And the way a trick-taking game works is whoever plays the highest card on that trick wins that trick. So they win that whole trick, if you like. I don't know the name for it. So in this instance, West has played the highest spade. The cards are ranked as you would expect. 2 is smaller than 3, which is smaller than 4. All the way up to 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace is the best card. So Ace will always, in inverted commas, asterisk, always win a trick because it's the highest card. It can't be beaten. So if West played the ace of spades as their first card, or whether they played it as the last card, it's always going to win that trick. Doesn't matter when you play it. Whoever leads that suit is known as leading a suit when you play the suit for the first time. The play then goes clockwise round, so everyone gets a turn at attempting to win that trick. For example, if North played the 6 of spades first, it would then be East's go to try and win the trick. So they play the 10. Then it's South's go, they play the Jack, that's bigger than the 10. And then West plays the Ace, which is bigger than all of them, which wins the trick. Okay? So a trick-taking game always goes clockwise, and the first person to lead that card has essentially decided that that suit is being played on this trick. Whoever wins that trick, in this case West, they are now on lead to the next trick. So they dictate what suit is to be played next. So that trick goes away, you turn the cards over, that trick vanishes, and then you play another card. West can choose whatever card they like of their remaining hand. 12, I imagine, given that they've already played one. So they play the ace of hearts. And now because West led a heart, North has to play a heart if they have one, and it goes clockwise, and so on and so forth. In the game of bridge, you deal out all 52 cards, which means that each player, 4 players, all have 13 cards, which means there will be 13 tricks that take place. And after 13 tricks, One player will have won so many, another player will have won so many, and so on, until you add up to 13. Because bridge is played by 4 players, one of the most critical things about bridge is that it is a partnership game. You cannot play bridge on your own. Well, you can try, but you shouldn't. You need to be playing with the person opposite you. They are your partner. So for Compass Point's perspective, east and west are partners, and north and south are partners. So on the table, it's literally the person sat opposite you. What that means is, if your partner wins the trick, if your partner plays the highest card in the suit, going back to this one, 10, Jack, Ace, West has won that trick. They have not won that trick for themselves, they have won that trick for their partnership. So East is happy that West has won the trick, just as happy as they would have been if East had won the trick. So because it's a partnership game, you are equals, and therefore if your partner wins a trick, they have won a point for your side. Just like tennis doubles, if your partner serves an ace, you get just as many points as your partner, because it is a team game. So it's like tennis doubles, but you can't play singles. You are forced into playing doubles, which sometimes feels like a bit of a hindrance, you could argue. But this is the most beautiful thing about the game of bridge, because cooperation is really important. Cooperating with one another to try and get the most number of tricks out of the hand is arguably the most frustrating and the most satisfying aspect of the game, because you are working in a team. You cannot play for yourself. If you do play for yourself, you will not be a good bridge player. You have to be a good teammate. So in this instance, let's say West, let's change to another trick. West leads the Queen of Diamonds, and North plays the 4, because they can't beat the Queen, let's say. If East happen to have the King of Diamonds in their hand, they shouldn't play the King of Diamonds on the Queen of Diamonds, because their partner is winning the trick. They don't need to win the trick themselves, because their partner is currently winning that trick. You with me? Mm-hmm. So therefore the King of Diamonds would not be a sensible thing, because the King is equivalent to the Queen as far as they're concerned. The ace is going to be somewhere, whether it's here, or here, we don't know. It's probably not here, otherwise they would have probably played it. But playing the King of Diamonds or the Jack of Diamonds would be a pointless card, because their partner is winning the trick. So you've always got to be aware, it's one of the kind of transitions from whist to bridge, is that you are not out for yourself, you're out for your teammate. So therefore, if they're winning the trick, you don't have to beat it. So if you did have the King of Diamonds, you would opt to play something small to let your partner have a chance of winning the trick. Okay. Now let's say South has the Ace of Diamonds. Okay, so South won that trick because they play the highest card. North goes, yippee, my partner had an ace. That's good, but now you can think, well actually, the next time diamonds are played, the King of Diamonds is going to be a winner, isn't it? So your partner's Queen of Diamonds, whilst it was a sacrifice, it was worth something. Whereas if you played your King on their Queen and then they played their ace, you'd be very sad, because you've got rid of your Queen, your King, for no reason. You've achieved nothing. Now, if you, again, for those of you who played whist, you will know this, if you don't have a suit that is being led, if you have run out of a suit, so this normally happens later on in the game, sort of 4 or 5, often later, 9, 10 tricks in, what you can do instead of just playing a big card is you can play another suit. If you only have to play, in this instance, a diamond, if you have a diamond in your hand. If you don't have a diamond in your hand, you can't play a diamond, so you don't have to follow suit. Following suit is where you just play the same suit. So what you can do now is play a club, a heart, or a spade. They're your options, unless you've got none of them, in which case the hand's over, or you've dropped a card or something. So what we do is we dictate that one suit is boss over all other suits. So in this instance, let's just say that the spades are this suit in this instance. So what we do is we say that one suit is kind of superior to all the other suits, and we call that suit the trump suit. You might have heard that term in other card games before. So the trump suit is a suit that beats all other suits. So the ace of diamonds, if diamonds weren't trumps, will be beaten by the 2 of trumps. So let's say spades are trumps on this particular hand. If South had run out of diamonds, you must be exhausted of that suit, otherwise you must follow suit. If they had run out of diamonds and instead played the 2 of spades, let's say spades are trumps, that 2 of spades beats that Queen of Diamonds. The 2 of the trump suit beats the ace of any other suit, so that suit is superior. In this instance, it's spades. The trump suit can be any given suit, and for those of you that have played whist, you know it can change. Sometimes your hand is good, sometimes it's bad, depending on what the trumps are. So a trump suit is something that is very, very useful. What I'm trying to say, really, is that this game isn't all about the aces and kings. Having aces and kings is obviously good, because you're likely to win more tricks. But having a trump suit, let's say you had 7 or 8 of one suit, if you had that suit as trumps, that will be a very powerful thing. So it's not all about aces and kings. Sometimes the trumps come into it. But you must have run out of the suit to be able to play a trump. If 2 players have run out of the suit, this is rare, but if 2 players have run out of the suit, it's whoever plays the highest trump. Again, I'm assuming that spades are trumps. So they've run out of diamonds, so they trump the diamond. They've run out of diamonds, and they over-trump. They trump higher than them. In this instance, South wins the trick. And East has not done very well with their 10 of trumps. They've not done anything with it. They've wasted it, if you like. So when you're following suit, the highest card wins the trick. When you're not following suit, because you can't, the highest trump wins the trick. Whatever the trumps are, it varies greatly on how many tricks you're going to take. You will have a hand where you think, oh, if spades are trumps, I'm in. If clubs are trumps, I'm doomed. You will have that kind of hand where you won't always have kind of 3 or 4 of each. You will have 6 of that and 1 of those, for example. There is something known as having no trumps, which means that you don't name a suit as kind of superior to any other. In that world, no suit is trumps. So if you've run out the suit, tough, you can't win the trick. You just throw something away. So if we were playing in no trumps, and South had run out of diamonds, it's tough. They cannot win the trick because there are no trumps. It's more frequent that there will be a trump suit. The trump suit might be diamonds. If the trump suit's diamonds and South hasn't got any more diamonds, they can't trump. If the trump suit is clubs, hearts or spades, they could trump this. Again, only if they've run out of diamonds. Okay? So for those of you who play Wish, you will kind of know all that I've just said. But it's good to recap to make sure we're all on the same page. Now, because the game of bridge is about basically making the most tricks for your side, it's all about scoring as many points as you can. Just like tennis, football, basketball, any game you come across, there is a scoring system. Now, to be brutally honest with you, the scoring system in bridge is crazy. It's very difficult and it makes no sense at all when you first look at it. It's more complex than when you first look at tennis scoring, and tennis scoring seems a bit crazy. Bridge scoring is quite complicated. So what I'm going to do is sort of lesson 3, I introduce you to the scoring, and then I kind of recap scoring every now and again because it is quite complicated. So for now, what I'm going to be doing is just talking about the basic principles without you understanding how to score points yet. And I appreciate that seems a bit backward, but you'll just have to trust me that I'm doing a sensible idea. If I was to talk about scoring now, I would go for the whole 2 hours. And we need to play some tonight, so that's the idea. Now, because it's all about making as many tricks for your side as you can, we have what's known as a point system. This is a way of evaluating how good your hand is. Aces and kings are good cards. 2s and 3s are not good cards, naturally. And you would look at your hand and you would have a good idea whether your hand is good or not, just based on pure chance. You get dealt whatever you get dealt. What we do is we give points to each of these cards to give you a clue as to how strong your hand is. And the points are as follows. I'll fill 2 in. Fancy that. Okay, it's 2.5 and I'm joking. So ace is 4, king is 3, queen is 2 and jack is 1. So when you pick your hand up, you will look and you'll go, I've got 3 jacks, that's 3 points, 2 queens, that's 4 points, that makes 7, 1 ace, that's 11 points, and that's it. And you will know how many points your hand has. You will do this every single time you pick your hand up. Not because I'm telling you to, but because now that I've told you this, you'll do it just out of practice. You won't be able to not to now that you know this system. Because there are 4 aces, 4 kings, 4 queens and 4 jacks in the deck, and we deal all of the deck out, that means that there are 4 lots of these. And this adds up to 10, which means there are 40 points out there. 40 divides very nicely by 4. That means that an average hand is 10 points. It's average that you get 1/4 of all 4 aces, 4 kings, 4 queens and 4 jacks. I.e., if you get 1 ace, 1 king, 1 queen and 1 jack, and everyone else does, that is a perfectly balanced average hand. Everyone has 10 points. This won't happen to you. You won't get balanced hands. You will have 20 points, you will have 2 points, they'll have whatever, 8, and the other person will have 10. It will always add up to 40. If it doesn't, something's gone drastically wrong. People can't add up, or there's cards on the floor or something. But you will find that you very, very rarely get the true average of 10. You will sometimes, but more often than not, you've got a bad hand or a good hand or somewhere in the middle. So when you get your hand, the best thing to do, the first thing you should be doing, the first thing you should do is put it in suits so you can actually look at it nicely rather than guessing. And the second thing you should do is add your points up. Your point count is a clue as to how good your hand is. So let me just write a hand on here. Let's say we are north. Naturally, you will only know how many points you have because you can't see anyone else's hand, but you'll have a good idea as to whether your hand's good or not. Now, I'm introducing you to something else new here. You'll see that I've put ace XX, king jack XX. An X isn't a card. You won't ever get a card that has an X on it. That's not a bridge thing. That's me being lazy. Instead of writing ace 7-2 and king jack 4-3, an X is a card that I don't consider worth anything. A card below a 10, basically. A card that I'm not interested as to whether it's a 4 or a 6 or a 3, because they are all roughly equivalent. Yes, a 6 is better than a 3, but not really. You don't really take tricks with anything. You need to be approaching the 9s, 10s region to have a chance of taking a trick. So what I do is I just put X's to signify this card is a small card. I don't care whether it's a 7 or a 2 or whatever. They're all very similar. So looking at our hand, we have hopefully 13 cards. Let's make sure I can add up. Yeah, good. 13 cards, and we have an ace, 2 aces rather, a king and a jack. So for those of you who are quick at arithmetic, that's 12. That's 12 points. So that's slightly better than average. You would expect 10, you've got 12. That's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to a version of bridge which is known as Minibridge, hence the title. What happens in full bridge, full blooded bridge, which of course we will get into, is we use these things. These are known as bidding boxes. Now these are going to look alien to a lot of you. These are only bidding boxes. These decide how many tricks you need and what trumps are. We skip this entire stage with Minibridge because it's simply too difficult to learn about all the aspects of card play bridge and then learn about all this lot in one lesson. It's just too difficult. So what Minibridge does is it skips that entire bidding stage, deciding what trumps are, and instead, all you do is you add your points up, in this case 12, and then you say them out loud. So you use your voice to bid rather than using that crazy thing there. But we will eventually become friends with that crazy thing. So in this instance, we say 12 points. Someone else will also be rifling through their cards and they'll go 7, let's say. Eventually, depending on how quick everyone is at maths, arithmetic rather, you will have everyone, let's make sure I can add up, everyone says something about their points. First point rather, make sure it adds up to 40. If it doesn't add up to 40, someone is fibbing. Perhaps not intentionally, but they are fibbing. But that could be you, of course, so check your hand again. When it does add up to 40, which this one does, I think. Yeah, good. There will be one side who has more points than the other side. In this instance, that is north-south. So north-south have 22 points between them, east-west have 18 points between them. So east-west are looking like they're going to lose this hand. It isn't always the way it works out, but that's what it looks like. Because north-south have 4 more points than east-west, it looks like north-south have an advantage. Well, they do have an advantage, because they've got more high cards. So what we do to counteract that is that we say that the team with more points needs to win more tricks. The way the scoring works, which I'll get into more when we get into scoring week, the way the scoring works is that those with more points have to win more tricks to satisfy their target. For example, if they were dealt 40 points, if they had every single high card in the deck, it's not difficult to take all the tricks, is it? That doesn't make a good player to just go, ace, haha, you can't beat that, king, you can't beat that either, queen, you can't beat that either, because that's not good card play. So what the scoring does is it kind of weights it towards who's got more points as to how you win, which gives these guys a chance of winning. So there is kind of a scale of how many points your side has and how many tricks you need to prevail as the victors of the hand. Again, I'll get more into how you win points on scoring week. So the first bracket of points is 21 to 22. You'll notice I've started just above halfway. I'll explain why you won't have less than 20 in a minute, but I'll explain. Next bracket is 23 to 24. Sorry, I should say that equals 7 tricks, that equals 8 tricks. Next bracket is 25 to 27. So I'll write this out much bigger after I've done all my talking stuff. So essentially, the number of points you have, which is these bigger figures on the right, dictates how many tricks your side needs to win to make you the winners of the hand, and you will eventually convert that into points. So if you have 21 or 22 points between you, you only just have a majority. You only just have more than them, because there's 40 out there, so 21, 22 is just more than that. Which means you only have to win just more than half the tricks. There are 13 tricks available, 7 means they've won 6. So you've just won. As you get more and more points, the game of bridge expects you to take more tricks. If you're up in this crazy region, which you won't get to very often because it's just against the odds, you're expected to take all of the tricks if you have that many points. It's essentially a way of giving those who don't get a good hand a chance of winning. It's a way of balancing it, because if it was just a case of whoever gets dealt the big card wins, that would be a rubbish game. You might as well just turn it over, you got an ace, you win this hand, oh I got a king, I win this hand. There's no point in that, that's just playing high card. So what this does is it converts it, it gives you a challenge as to how to basically give the defence a chance. Now, sorry, I'll just rewrite 7 there, that's how many points they had. There is an extra element to the play of bridge which is completely alien, I think. I think it's the only game, it was certainly the only game I've ever come across it. And that is the person with the most points, well, the side with the most points gets known as the attackers or the declarers, because they are the team that is going to be going for some number of tricks. The side that doesn't have the most number of points, in this case east-west, they're known as the defenders. They're trying to defend the attackers from getting the number of tricks they need. So in this instance, north-south needs 7 tricks, so east-west want to stop north-south from getting 7 tricks. The full name of bridge is contract bridge. That's because you are contracted to get a certain number of tricks. So that's what this is introducing you to without using that alien bidding box. That's the contract stuff, really. This says you need to get 7 tricks. If you fail, I don't like that word because it's negative, but if you don't get 7 tricks, you have not 1 point. If you do get 7 or more tricks, you have 1 point. So one side becomes the attackers and one side becomes the defenders. Now the extra unique bit to bridge is that the person with the most points in the attacking side, in this case north, they become what's known as the declarer. They declare a certain contract. What that means is that south's cards go face up on the table and they get known as the dummy. Now they've got to add up to 10, so let's make sure we do that. So when one person announces how many points they've got and it's clear that that person has the most points in the partnership that's the attackers, that person gets known as the declarer. Your roles are now set. That person, the declarer, needs to win a certain number of tricks. The partner of that person is the dummy, and they need to put their cards down on the table. Their role, the dummy, is now over. Dummy is not a very nice word, it makes you sound silly, but it's known because you are, in a sense, a puppet for the declarer. The declarer now gets to play your hand, and they get to choose what cards you play. You don't have any impact when you're the dummy. So it can be quite a frustrating position to be in, because you want to play your ace and they tell you to play your 3 or something. So the declarer now has to make a certain number of tricks based on this, and they get to choose what card to play from this hand and what card to play from this hand, and they can see each other's hand. Okay? That is something that's unusual for the game of bridge. The problem with all of that is that the defenders can also see what's on the table, so they can see what's against them. East and west are looking and going, well, we better not lead a heart because they've got the ace of hearts, I'll try a club. They've not got good clubs, for example. Whereas north can see their teammate's hand. So everyone is in a different, unique perspective. They've all got kind of 2 quarters or 1/2 of the picture. They can see 2 hands, but not all 4. Everyone can see different ones, if you see what I mean. So what happens then? Once someone is dictated as the declarer, they then have a number of tricks they need, in this case 7. The dummy goes down, and then north decides whether they would like a trump suit or not. The declarer gets to choose, I would like this suit as trumps, or I would not like this suit as trumps. You can declare no trumps if you wish. So in this instance, what suit do you think I want to choose as trumps? If any? Hearts. It's not just because the hearts are big, but it's because we have lots of them. Having lots of trumps is a very useful feature. You want to choose trumps that have big cards, you want to choose trumps that have length and not necessarily strength. For example, if I remove that and move the ace down here, that's the power of being on the board, I can magic a hand. Replace that with a baby one. Now you could argue, well, our spades are better than our hearts because we've got ace-king, so therefore don't I want spades as trumps? The answer is no. You want length, not strength in the trumps. Obviously, ideally, you want strength and length. But if you have a choice between an 8-card suit or a 7-card suit, the 8-card suit will always be better, even if the 8-card suit is weaker in strength. It's about length in trumps. The reason for that is the more trumps you have, the less trumps they have, which means they are less likely to impact the number of tricks you can take. And what often happens is you make these little trumps just because they are trumps and they're better than all the high cards and all the other suits. So the more you have, the better it is. Ideally you would have 13, but that won't happen to you very often. It's happened to me once in my life that I had 13 cards between the two of us. It just doesn't happen. But having 9 or 10 is a very, very good thing, because it means they have 3 or 4. So choosing your trump suit gives you a natural advantage. So it's quite a good position to be in, to be able to choose a trump suit. How many trumps do you need to choose a trump suit? Well, you need a considerable majority. 7 cards is a majority because they only have 6, but it's too fine a margin. So with 7 card fits, sorry, that's another bridge term. A fit is when you combine your 2 hands and you make a certain number of cards together. A 7 card fit is not considered enough of a majority. So with only 7 cards in a particular suit between your hand, you shouldn't choose that suit as trumps. If you do have 8 cards in a suit, now you've got 8 over 5, that is a considerable majority, so you should choose that suit as trumps. You'll just have to trust me that it's a good idea to have an 8-card suit as trumps, for now. You'll realise when you play why. So in this instance, we would elect hearts as trumps, because we think that that gives us the most trick-taking power. Obviously it's nicer when we have the ace of hearts, but we should still choose hearts as trumps with this hand. And then the play begins. Now for the play to begin, someone has to lead a card. Then we're into the trick-taking bit that we spoke about a bit ago. The person that leads a card is the person left of the declarer, in this case east. They always lead through the dummy on the trick one. Again, it's just kind of a rule to get the ball rolling. So, east leads the, I don't know, let's say the queen of diamonds. I'll just rub that out now. Now you go around in the clockwise fashion, as discussed before, and whoever wins the trick leads to the next trick, and you play all 13 tricks like that. They go around, then they win, then they play something, then you win, and so on and so forth. And you keep a tally. You won 8, we won 5. We won 10, you won 3. Whatever. It obviously adds up to 13, otherwise something's gone wrong. And then you look to see, you'll be looking towards the board for this evening, but you will soon get these memorised, I hope. You'll be looked at the board and think, oh, you needed 7 tricks because you had 22 points. You made 8, well done you made an extra one. Or, you needed 8 tricks, you only made 7, well done us, we beat you. Okay? For now, that's all I want to do on the scoring aspects, just kind of a tick or a cross for now. I will then show you how that translates to numbers, but it is simply too much information to give you at this stage. So what I would like us to do for this evening is kind of settle in our 4s, wherever you are in the room. I'm going to bring round some cards. Oh yeah, that's one more thing I want to show you. These are known as boards. These are playing cards, nothing fancy about them, they're just cards like normal. They're known as bridge cards because the clubs look slightly different to the spades, colour-wise, and the diamonds look slightly different to the hearts. You'll see in a minute. But they're just normal playing cards, and what I will do is I'll give you one of these on the table. Rather than hand-dealing cards, I have already computer dealt these for us to save us having to deal one there, one there, one there, and so on and so forth. It's basically a way of being more efficient. Whenever you play bridge, you play with these. You can't not play bridge. You know, if you took a deck of cards home and played tonight, you can. But what I do is I computer deal them so that I can choose what everyone's got in their hand. So there is no elements of random. So I dictate what's happening so that you all get to go. That's my idea.